A wise person once said that life goes by pretty fast, and if you don't stop to enjoy it, you may miss it. But I would add something else. Life sometimes gives you the fulfillment of a dream that you had in your younger days. And if you don't stop to think about it, you may not even notice that you're living it. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It, a podcast about technology, history, and getting myself out of debt. Thanks to Jeff Atwood and the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. It started with an email from a documentary company, literally one of these firms that's assigned or is able to get clearance for doing a film about a subject. One they will film in a very short time, often 1 or 2 months, recording and editing as they go, and then turning it into a product that will usually show up on a streaming service, very rarely something that would go into theaters. There's a lot of these groups right now. Many times they're doing multiple projects at once or creating a series. All of it kind of flattened, kind of put together as a product should be. Fast, efficient, straight up, not very challenging. So, my attitude about these is that it's better to have something from somebody who is passionate and thinks about the subject than to dismiss it and end up having no voice in the final, often cited work that comes out at the end. I always say yes. Talking with this group, named Talesmith, they told me that they were doing a series on video games, that they were going to interview a number of people and put together a number of subjects into a small mini-series of what turned out to be 4 episodes, a fun history of video games. And if you've not experienced being involved in something like this, you mostly talk about what you're going to cover and scheduling. And if you're lucky, a few dollars thrown your way if you have to travel. I've been in hotel rooms at the back corners of buildings. I have talked to people while walking around, and I've had people visit me at home. In all cases, I do my best to keep up my energy, to make what I'm saying clear, and to provide them with the footage that they came for, something I always appreciated when I was making these myself. Such it was that Talesmith told me it would really work out for their schedule, as they were a UK company traveling through the United States, if I came down to Los Angeles for an afternoon and I did the interview at a place they were setting up. It was at the end of an Internet Archive visit, so it was pretty trivial for me to take a short flight down from San Francisco, stay over in a hotel down the street from the studio, and show up, dressed to my finest, ready to give them what they wanted. And again, if you've never dealt with a professional documentary production, they usually have a seat for you, they adjust the lights, they ask you to talk a lot. Maybe you talk to the director or a producer about where they want to go. You tell them what you're willing to talk about, you tell them what you think you know. And in the case of Talesmith, they had sent me a questionnaire with the subjects they thought they were going to cover, and I indicated which ones I was comfortable talking about, which ones I thought I would have something to say. So when I got there, I have 2 main memories. It was on a loft in a building in downtown Los Angeles, and there was a lot of sound coming from the streets, a lot of sirens and a lot of cars braking and honking, and they had all the windows open because it was hot. So that poor sound guy, he was constantly trying to work around all that noise, and I was more than happy to repeat myself whenever we had honking or give them alternate takes, and I always tried to focus directly on the camera and not the person who was talking, and I tried to keep my answers short, emotional, and where I could be, thoughtful and insightful. And the other main memory I have of all this was that they had 2 cameras rolling, and they wanted me to do asides, which I'd never seen done before. They wanted me to answer, and if something was a trivia point, I would turn to the other camera and say something. It's not my show, not my circus. I'm more than happy to do what they were seeking. I would say I was in there for maybe 90 minutes to 2 hours, with a break for some water and discussing the direction with the producers, and honestly, that was it for business. While I was in Los Angeles for a day and a half, I got to see some old friends, got to meet someone I only knew from online, and enjoyed a drive around the Los Angeles area. I took my flight from Los Angeles, went home, and honestly stopped thinking about it completely. The work was done. I gave them some footage. They helped me towards the cost of traveling down there. It was great. It was fine. But I had many other things to do. Fast forward about 9 or 10 months, and I was informed by the production company that the film was getting a soft launch on the Roku channel, of all places, that it would be a free movie available to people who were on Roku, whether they were on Roku online or if they had a device. And so when I was told it would be released, I scrubbed through it, saw that I did make some appearances, I did make it to the end of the production, and then I sat down and watched all the episodes. Let's go about this 2 different ways. First of all, it's always interesting to see yourself integrated into a project. For all the work they did with me, they did it with another roughly 9 or 10 people, ranging from figures from video game history to pundits and people who write about video games to a couple historians like myself. They also put in a lot of footage, a lot of B-roll, a lot of slow-moving shots. I thought that was interesting. Little scrolling shots across equipment or taken from old video sources that they had acquired. I did have a memory of pointing them to some very old footage that they could license of people resisting the terrible influence of space invaders back in the 1970s. I think they used a little bit of that. And then we get into, was it good? Okay. Video games are a very well-tread subject. You are talking about video games. You are talking about something a lot of people have written, filmed, spoken, and shown. It's not a new subject. When a game comes out that has any sort of prominence, you can be assured that somebody will review it. If it's a classic, people will revisit it. We will see footage of people talking about it, of playing it. It's not very easy if you want to do something truly obscure and unique. And frankly, the audience that wants to sit through a video game documentary may or may not be interested in being challenged. Some of them may just want their checklist filled. Others are more than happy to learn a few things, but they don't want to go down a rabbit hole discussing a game they've never heard of. It is fine, this movie. This movie has some beautiful shots. It has very well recorded interviews. The sound is really nice, and you just watch it pour onto a pancake like just right heated butter until it's over. All in all, I made a bunch of appearances. And, okay, that was nice. That was pleasant. I told some people about it. The production company was asking me to hold off on really promoting it right now. And then I stopped thinking about it for a few days. And it was only a few days later that it hit me. And I mean hit me emotionally, hit me where I had to sit down. I suddenly remembered what I had seen in that movie where I was focused, like somebody who falls for the experiment where a subject is made to watch a film of people passing a basketball and they don't notice a costumed character walking back and forth between them because they're so focused counting that ball being passed. I was so focused on the quality of the sound and the intercutting of the voices and which different stock footage they used, and of course my own appearance, that I hadn't really watched the series as a series. And here's the thing. This group did a really good job of tracking some of the pioneers, the names that are associated with video games, people who played a part in the beginning. Sure, you can debate about them being the manager for somebody creative, and is the creative person more relevant than the management person, or did this founder who was here at this time really represent the company once it was sold, and so on. But still, these are names within the video game world that you remember. The creators, the faces recorded more than often with a prop version of the thing they made. The creator of Space Invaders with a Space Invaders machine. Nolan Bushnell standing next to a Pong machine. And almost every time, especially in the pioneering section, there's me. There's me in my silly little outfit talking about how important these people were, immediately cutting to them. That's something I took so lightly because I was so focused on the work's quality and how it was doing its sound and video that I didn't realize, here's me, here's Jason, the boy who played these games as a child, who loved them, whose mind would wander out of these dark places that he lived, about these mystical worlds out west and around the world that were creating games, these beautiful pieces of art that showed him a way out of depression and loneliness and solitary. Saying that, how could you leave a world that makes these, that puts them into a room and they beep and hum and wish you well, and they challenge you, and they are creative and odd and musical? Those people, whether they did it for business, whether they did it for profit margin, or simply thought of it all as a side road to whatever they wanted to do, were those faces and voices in this documentary next to whatever I was saying. I didn't have the privilege of meeting any of them in this context. I went to a loft in Los Angeles and talked for a while. But to watch my excited words about these games, about this part of when I was young, and then for it to be buffeted, interlocked, hand in hand, arm in arm, with images of these heroes, of these people who I looked up to, even if I didn't know their names, playing with their equipment, playing with the work, playing with the product of their imaginations, and then talking to the camera. Could I waste a moment expressing my gratitude that this happened within the arc of my own lifetime? That I went at one point from just being somebody playing a video game to being the MC, the introducer, the face at the DS that pointed over to these folks who were affecting so many lives, including my own. To have that journey within 40 years. I am nearly ashamed I didn't recognize this immediately. It's easy to get all sorts of starstruck, of course, and maybe I didn't want to do that. But this juxtaposition, this result of working for many years to talk about preservation and the maintaining of our history, of going through homes and houses and talking about video games and bulletin board systems and text adventures and everything else, leading to where my face and my reputation was known to this group, and that they used me as the voice and face that would be paired with these people when I realized that that's what happened, was a shockwave of pure, unadulterated joy. And I have a lot of wonderful things in my life, but pure, unadulterated joy that lights up my timeline goes back to the beginning of my life. Well, if I don't stop, pay respect to that, and appreciate all of the forces, the friends, the collaborators, the groups that brought me to that point, I might just miss it. This is Jason Scott Talks His Way Out of It. Thanks to James Bekoyanu, Ernie Hershey, Michael Rubin, Dilip Reddy, Sean Kelly, Trixie the Cat, Martin, Symbionts, Benjamin Guts, Joey Mink, and Anonymous, along with the hundreds of other supporters on Patreon and elsewhere who have been supporting me and helping me get out of debt. The documentary, available through Roku, is called Games That Rocked the World. I won't tell you it's the greatest video game documentary. It's just the greatest one I've been in, probably forever.